Today's episode of Slot Shot Podcast is brought to you by Horwitz and Associates. Were you or a loved one recently the victim of a wobbly stepladder or a dysfunctional forklift? Are you shy on this month's rent and considering your options? Either way, your first call should be to Horwitz and Associates, specializing in workers' comp cases and pre-injury consultations. The big insurance companies will do anything to deny you your settlement. Fight back with the firm insurance companies hate to see. Horwitz and Associates. If you don't win, you pay nothing. HorwitzLaw.com for more information.
Welcome back to Slot Shot Podcast, a hockey podcast. We've got a full schedule ahead of us. We've got a big trade with the Vancouver Canucks. We've got Mullett Mania, what's happening down in the desert. A little out of the wild, a little review of what the Minnesota Wild have done after quite a coaching change and a little change of attitude, and the regular scheduled programming of Loose Change, the new appointment viewing, Termite of the Week. Ross is on the clock, and as the always Saturday picks continues, boys, it's gonna be a fun episode. A lot of hockey to talk about. Boys, checking in. Ross, how are you?
Doing great, boys. Real ready, real fired up. Watched a lot of hockey this week and ready to rock and roll. So not too many pleasantries from me.
Love to hear it. Arm Dog?
Yeah, you know, as most avid sports fans, much happier when your team's playing well, just how it goes. And wings are hot. So it's pretty cool. It's been a long time.
Yep.
As I've said many times on this podcast, but it really feels good to see competent hockey for the first time in a while. Competitive hockey, dude. Wow.
No, and then Showtime makes his debut tomorrow night versus the San Jose Sharks. A little confidence
Soft
booster.
landing.
Soft landing. That's a good way to
better.
put it. Good way to put it.
Could not, except against the Hawks.
Army is definitely excited for that one. But let's jump into the program. Nikita Zadorov goes from the Calgary Flames to the Vancouver Canucks. I'll get the details up here in a second after Calgary kind of made it known that Zadorov was not necessarily a re-sign priority. Zadorov requested a trade. Things went a little quiet after some locker room conversations, but Big Z, just kidding. Nikita Zadorov ends up in Vancouver playing next to, actually, as I saw on Twitter last night, a passionate Ross asking for the 6'8", 6'6" combo to be split up of Tyler Myers and Nikita Zadorov. Jesus. Boys, instant reaction to the big trade for Vancouver.
I mean, so my instant reaction is like, this is a guy that, because I'd read a lot about this Nikita Zadorov, like, rumors. And apparently he was very sought after. Like, and Calgary wanted to keep him, but then he was just like, this, it's kind of a mess there right now. I understand why nobody would really want to be there. But apparently there was a lot of interest. Apparently Vancouver's been trying to make this trade for a long time. It would only cost, like, I think it's a third and a fifth.
It was a 2024 fifth rounder and a 2026 third.
Yeah. So, like pretty minimal. Like, the chances of either one of those picks becoming NHL players is like under 10%. Like, it's pretty much nothing. I mean, I like the Canucks getting a guy they wanted. So, like, on that aspect, you get an NHL top forward to, like, maybe last pairing on a better team pairing, but like a competent NHL defenseman for pretty much nothing at a time where you want to win. I've thought the back end of Vancouver's defense has looked skeptical at times, like pretty sketchy. So that's good, you know, bringing in another body who can play. We've seen him play; he can play. From first sights, him and Tyler Myers don't look great together. Looks like too many big plods out there, you know.
Oh, God, I mean, we're gonna get in Loose Change or to that right the Hughes sisters game last night, but oh my God, Tyler Myers had one of the dumbest, stupidest plays I've seen. But Zadorov, right? Zadorov, big, nasty defenseman, plays with a bad attitude that you want, right? I don't mean like bad teammate. I mean, he's an asshole to play against, and he's gigantic, and he can crush guys. Like in a playoff series, he can wipe some guys completely out of the series. He's actually a really good skater, and I think he has upside on the skill, like carrying the puck.
Talking about
Zadorov.
Yep. Especially 6'6".
I think his puck management is probably the biggest weakness to his game. And, It's interesting. I thought about it, and it's like when you watch Vancouver, you just see like Hronek and Hughes just jump off the screen, and they're logging so many minutes, and the two of them, obviously Hughes, exceptionally, like he's a couple tiers probably ahead of Hronek, but the two of them are like interchangeable the way they're playing together and moving the puck and skating and pirouetting and the passing and the handling, and like that's just so dynamic. It takes your eyes away from a little bit of a deficiency with their defensemen, with that whole defense core. I think their forward group is far better than their D group, especially after the top two. And so it seems like it makes sense, a little bit more bite back there. But it's a little interesting how that fits in. So they have Ian Cole, who's been logging a lot of minutes back there, I think playing really well for them. He's a really cagey veteran, not the fastest, not the fleetest of foot, but as mentioned, they're getting that out of the other pairing. So it's just interesting to me. Like Zadorov does skate really well. He's a much more elegant skater than Myers. But I don't know. The two of them is a little clunky, especially when it comes to puck management. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. I think where he fits in the lineup and who he's playing with, I think that'll shuffle around. Right now, they have a rookie playing with Cole on that middle pairing, or however you want to talk about it. Because it's really, they have the top pairing. That's one of the top pairings in the league.
Julinson, yep.
What's that?
It's Noah Julinson is the guy's name.
I think you're adding an N. I think it's Juleson.
Juleson.
Yep. Juleson.
Tend to do that tonight.
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of Juleson, but I think basically they have that top pairing. That's one of the best in the league right now. Yep. And then they kind of have 2 third pairings, a little bit. But I do think Zadorov gives him a boost. It'll be interesting how he mixes how they figure that out, right? We've talked about Talkett's staff with Gonchar and Adam Foote. Probably, right, the best offensive and one of the best defensive defensemen of their generation are assistant coaches. So they couldn't be in better hands as far as making chicken salad there. But it's a little strange. Like him and Myers on the ice at the same time was, again, it's their first game together. So I don't want to jump down their throat and act like it can't work. Because also, like on the flip side of that, let's say they figure it out and they learn to play well together. Right, that's a ton of reach. That could be a really like that could be a dynamic thing. But I feel like if you're gonna have 2 gigantic guys like that, they need to be a little more different than they are similar.
Well, it just seems like in some of the clips last night looked bad, especially you talked
last night was tough.
Yeah, but the puck retrieval in the D zone doesn't seem like it's gonna be the smoothest thing with those two. It's also tough when you're coming off like the Hughes Hronek, where they can both just get the puck and make it great. Like they're both so silky with the puck that it's a really tough comparison when you see those two follow them out after. One thing that'll be interesting is, and I think this will be a storyline at some point when Vancouver inevitably has some sort of cold patch, right? I think Zadorov and Hronek could be a really good pair. Now you're hesitant to break up the Hughes Hronek right now because they're playing so well.
And the risk, but the risk that you could get worse in 2 spots.
Totally. Right? So I don't think they'll do it now, but that could be a like later season shuffle up if things aren't going so well. And I wonder how that would be, because then who does Hughes play with?
That's the question. And I think when you look at this Vancouver roster, I don't think they're done adding. I think they're still in conversations for potentially Chris Tanev. It's a little bit more. I think
Tanev would be, because Tanev and
Hughes Zadorov
and
Hronek, and that settles things up a little bit better.
Chris Tanev, I mean, jeez.
So it makes the possibility of that happening quite interesting in terms of Vancouver's eyes, and it's I don't think Jim Rutherford, who made it, Jim Rutherford, Jesus,
Jim Rutherford,
Jim and Tonic,
is done making moves, and I like the fact that he got this done in basically the last day of November, because he gets December, January, February, March, April, all these games to fit into this lineup, and getting that done early. And I think there is room for an extension for Zadorov in Vancouver. We'll see if that gets attacked. I know Hronek, I think, is up potentially at the end of the year, so I think he'll be more of a priority. But no, Nikita Zadorov goes to Vancouver. Any final thoughts on
I love
the big trade?
The early move, too, not only to acclimate, but if Zadorov, and this is bad on the Flames part, I would say, if you wait till a deadline to deal him, he's going for more, and you don't know if you're going to get him. It makes me mad how many teams wait to make trades. It's like, if you can, go be aggressive. If you can get the deal done now, you're going to pay less than you would when there's a ton of buyers Another defenseman's gone down around the league. People are going to be looking for Zadorov. So yeah, good move by the Canucks. You know, even if it doesn't work out, I like the aggression, low cost. Get a guy in there. You know, very low risk.
You nailed my 2 points. I love the aggressive GMing. I love the cost. And I think they're also playing a little bit off of a lack of leverage in Calgary, where Calgary just wanted him out of the room, right? It's not like he was being a total bad guy, but like he didn't want to be there, and like that's just not good for Juju. Yeah. Even if they become sellers, which could be a much bigger story. But where again, the real interest of this trade is how that coaching staff in Vancouver figures out the D pairings and the potential to maybe split up those top two. Like that's really something to keep an eye on. That's going to be most interesting to me. The very last point on that is I've previously talked about how Vancouver has been really, I think, like good at bailing on bad defensive zone possessions and just flipping the puck out of the zone when the play's breaking down and avoiding that really costly D zone turnover. Because obviously, right, with Hughes and Hronek, you're not getting a lot of that. You're skating it out of the zone and often into the offensive zone often. But for everyone else, and even when the forwards are a little like hemmed in, they're doing a really good job just flipping that puck out, not taking icing and getting out of danger. Obviously not a good play, but again, not a bad play, and they've done well with that. So it'll be interesting to me to just see how this thing pans out because, and I lived it in the final years of Chara in Boston when his foot speed and like it was just tough. And it's just like it can really, really disrupt your team 200 feet when every single time a D pairing's out there, the puck's punting and it's a far blue line turnover. That can be really disruptive, but I see it from the one side for Vancouver where it's like, all right, well, on that top pairing, we're going to have the puck most of the time. So maybe we can afford to be a little bit more, kind of high glass around, on the other pairings. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But, I love the aggressive move. And as far as a fit, I think that's still TBD. They might move, maybe they move Myers, right? Like there are other ways, there are other things that could shake out here. Yeah. We'll have to see.
Absolutely. And Vancouver jumping to the early trade market and, as I said, I don't think they're done quite there. Lots of improvements to be made, and I think given the surprise that Vancouver's had, they see themselves as a real shot. Do they see themselves as contenders necessarily? Not yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they do acquire more to help that lineup. Moving on from the Vancouver Canucks to a little Mullett Mania. And for anyone that's not necessarily familiar with it, Mullett Arena, where the Arizona Coyotes play their hockey, and it's been fantastic stretch, beating the Capitals 6-0 most recently, the Blues 4-1, Avs 4-3, Lightning 3-1, Golden Knights 2-0. The Arizona Coyotes are making a little run in the Central with 28 points at 13-9-2. Clayton Keller, underrated superstar in this league.
Concur.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Clayton Keller. We talked about him last year. He's awesome. But I think there's still more upside. I think he is upside of a 100-point player, to be honest.
He's at 24 points to start the year so far, 8 goals, 16 assists.
How many games? 24 and 24.
He's a point-a-game player right now.
24 and 24?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is what he's pretty much been when healthy since, emerging as a real player. So
yeah, I just think on when this team, if the team develops on the same path,
Cooley gets going
and becomes like one of those top seeds, I think he's a 100-point player.
One thing that's really jumped out to me, the few Arizona games I've caught, which now decent samples, I probably watched 3 or 4 Arizona games this year. Their short passing, especially in the power play, really, really cool. They're doing really cool things with short passing, using the bumper. I think I talked about one sequence. It was two goals, or it was 2 different goals in the same game weeks ago, where it was like Keller to the bumper back to Keller. That was all one touch, and then Keller one timing. And it's just like, whoa, like it just creates a little bit of space, and it turns like a really good penalty kill setup, and it just gets them a step or 2 out of position, just enough with that high skill in the tight proximity to find a lane and get things on net. And Keller's been a killer.
Well, that play too. I mean, creating space in like a 10-foot radius is what the league is becoming about, and they did it. And the defenseman was there the whole time, but he couldn't get a stick. Like he was just spun around, on both occasions. And creating space like that, because the passes weren't long. It wasn't like that cross ice where it's the one timer, like what you'd think, which is awesome. And they do, too. I saw a Keller to Cooley backdoor pass.
Michelli loves those, too.
Yeah, but this was just quick, simple, and they shoot. I like what they're doing, and they're getting great goaltending from both goalies, especially Carter Ingram. First star of the week, I believe.
Yep. No, it's been impressive stuff.
It's Ingram and Pamelka, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ingram playing about 15 at this point, 11-3 with a 9.3 save percentage. So impressive stuff from Connor Ingram, who's kind of finding a second home in Arizona. As you said, Mateus Michelli, 13 assists, finding the open guys on that line. Michael Carcone, another one who's potted 12 goals for this team. So you're seeing scoring. You're seeing a little bit of a vibe from this Arizona team. And Ross doesn't like to say it, but they did just wrap up a 6-game winning streak against all the Stanley Cup winners of the past 6 years.
It's like hitting for the cycle.
Oh.
Is that like that cool?
It's cool.
It is cool. It's historic.
But this has never been done, so it's a lot more.
It's just a schedule anomaly. Like they've won 6 straight. That's enough on its own, right? That says more than playing. Just the team won the cup 6 years ago doesn't mean they're any good now.
I know, but they beat the last 3 too. I think it's a cool stretch. I hear you, but it's a cool stretch.
Dumb.
And they're getting an inspired Nick Bustad.
I was going to mention him.
Bustad. He was the next guy on my
playing
list.
17 minutes a game,
Dude.
winning his faceoffs more than half the time, putting in goals and assists.
And killing penalties and playing big minutes, using the speed, the size. He was a top pick, and he came into the league expecting huge things. Didn't pan out, but he's settled into this role now as a big third-line center checker. And, man, he puts a lot of pressure on the opponents when he's buzzing.
Well, what I like about the move, too, is because they brought him back this offseason. They re-signed him.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy that's bounced around a lot and not had a home, I think the idea that like a team is like, look, you're a part of the plan now. And it's a third line center. That's what. But he's playing 17 minutes a night. I mean, that's second line numbers, right? That means a lot to a guy like that. I think getting in a home, getting in a place where you have a role, understanding what you have to do. So he's played great, and he looks good. Like all the things he does, the eye test passes 100%.
And that it helps balance out that lineup, right? We know about Keller and the high-end skill. Obviously, we're waiting on Cooley to really kind of push things through. But, you've got some skill around there. Michelli, they got Zucker in there, correct?
And Kerfoot's been playing well.
Kerfoot really has looked great there.
He's looked good.
Kerfoot and Zucker.
Compared to his time in Toronto, where Kerfoot was kind of a little bit of like he felt like dead weight on their top 6 when they tried to balance things out. But one thing Kerfoot does, he's a really smart defensive player, right? And and so that's been a big he between him and Bukestad. I think it's helped balance out that lineup really well, really nicely, to the point where they've got their high-end skill. They're getting some good middle 6 grind that's making it hard on opponents. And then they've got the Termites on the bottom pairing, on the bottom line there, right, that are raising hell, not playing a ton of minutes because guys like Bukestad and Zucker and those other lines are doing their jobs as well. So it's pretty exciting out there in the desert for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing I got to say, because like we've talked about the Dumba signing. Dursey comes in. They trade for Dursey.
Looks unreal.
Re-sign Bukestad. So like they make a lot of these like more simple moves. Moves for mid-level players, not stars. Well, I think those moves go a long way because it changes games from you getting blown out of the barn with your bottom 2. Like elevating that middle ground really helps your star players succeed because it's not like the ice is tilted. When you don't have those middle ground players, the ice becomes tilted, and your prospects can't really breathe. And your young players can't breathe. Now you watch their games, and they look competitive throughout. Last year it was like Keller had his moments,
We're going to get to some loose change in a few games where I thought the ice was tilted.
It happens. But it happens. Yeah. But, like, generally, I've watched some Yotes games this year where they look like they're meant to be there, which was not the case last year.
To the Dursey Dumba additions on the blue line, that's a big part of it, right? Yep. Is they're getting consistent, effective, and helpful puck-moving plays that allow the team to stay out of their own D zone and play
breakout.
Well,
you saw Dursey kind of emerge in LA. It's a little bit of a tougher role to kind of see the limelight as he's seeing in Arizona as one of the but basically their top defenseman. So you're seeing the emergence of Sean Dursey in Arizona. You're seeing Matt Dumba become an instant vibe. This team is a little bit of the vibe team in the NHL right now, if I must must label it. I don't know if the boys agree, but
I don't want to spoil loose change, but I caught that. I caught some Colorado Arizona game last week. Be a pretty sweet 1-8 first round series.
I would love that. Yeah, I think that would be
a lot of fun. Yeah,
maybe not a fully loaded Colorado team, but who knows? Like,
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. That's a little bit of Mullett mania.
Oh, and one last thing. Gotta pump Tyson Nash for our listeners. If you watch an Arizona game, you're on the ESPN Plus. Watch the Arizona feed. Tyson Nash's can't miss. He calls the Mullett Arena the Mullett, and it's just one of a million things he does. That's just awesome on the broadcast. Shout out to our boy Tyson Nash, former Termite.
We need a network to pick him up because the NHL is what's streaming their games right now. I don't know. I'm sure that's local to Arizona watchers, but it's a little bit difficult for NHL viewing. But the Arizona Coyotes have an impressive start to the season so far, as we've hit the 25-26 game mark.
Looking great in the Kachinas, too.
Oh, they look good. I almost bought one the other day with the Fanatics.
Such a good call going back to
sale.
this. Such a good call going back to this.
I agree with it.
100%.
I agree with it. So last week we talked about the Minnesota Wild moving on from Dean Evanson to John Hines. And what have they seen? They've seen a bit of a boost in their performance with the Minnesota Wild. They handed the Blackhawks a 4-1 beating. Same with the Preds and actually as well with the Flames, 5-2, 6-1, 4-1 in those. And you're kind of seeing a resurgence from this Minnesota Wild team. Boys, who wants to lead us off after we talked about kind of them in the dumps, them dead? Are they suddenly reemerging in the Central? Is it too early to say? What do we got?
Well, Army was kicking them when they're down, so why don't you jump in now that they're up?
Yeah, I will. And last week we talked about it. Was this last week or 2 weeks ago?
Doesn't matter.
Last week.
I talked about their penalty kill, which was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And I was like, that's coaching. Like, that's just so obviously coaching, which, as I said last week, hard to see in the NHL sometimes how much coaching matters. But this was very visible. Since then, under John Hines, they've had a good penalty kill. Boldy all of a sudden's catching fire, and I caught a little bit of their game last night against the Flames. They're playing fast. And I did a little Twitter research, and I was just looking up like Minnesota Wild, and I think one tweet did it very well, and it was like, this is what happens when you go from a coaching style that promotes early 2000s hockey to one that promotes like 2020s hockey. And they're like, we look faster, we look engaged. And there's new coach boost there too. That's totally a thing. But like, they're playing the way that their best players can play, which is fast, shooting the puck a lot, creating opportunities. And the roster looks different. Like Kirill Kaprizov, obviously great player, but he looks freed all of a sudden. Like Zuccarello and Marco Rossi, I got to give a shout out to. I think he's looked good. There's still like more of like settling into like NHL speed, that's visible. But at the same time, he's playing with those two big guns of Zuccarello and Kaprizov, and they're kind of exciting. And you can see his like, he kind of looks like Zuccarello. Like he has Zuccarello moments where like he'll like turn on an edge and just rip a puck into a danger area. So I've been impressed by what I've seen, and it just like, it really does seem like they've opened up their game, and it seemed like they were being kind of held into a shell. So I think this is good. Gustafson's look good too. I don't know how goalies react to new coaches. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Goalies are just random, but they look good. They look good, and like I would not call them out of the playoff race yet. I know they have an uphill battle, but I think they're 5 points out. Like it's nothing crazy.
Yeah, they're in the mix. And I like that you went to Rossi because we've talked a million times about cap jail and the buyouts and the dead cap space that they need to deal with. That makes Rossi all the more important, right? They've got a big hole at center ice because it's Eriksson Ek, then what? They've tried to fill that with Ryan Hartman, who frankly did a pretty excellent job in mop-up duty. He moves up and down the lineup. They're able to use him in different areas. I really like what Hartman has just brought from versatility and finding different areas, but he's not a true number one center. And Rossi obviously isn't either, but he's the high draft pick. He's got that upside. He can help balance things out. Now you're moving other guys around, and you're really navigating that roster weakness, which we know that we like their D, right? Everybody likes their D. Spurgeon, Brodin's one of my favorites, one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. I've been all over Brock Faber, and so It's another team to keep an eye on, right? There's something about this stretch of the season, right? The early jitters are out. Now we're entering. Teams are kind of finding their groove. Some teams are dealing with injuries for the first time. Some teams have been up and down. There have been win streaks across the league. So they're a team to definitely keep an eye on. And I owe them a few watches, right? I don't think I've watched a game soup to nuts for them since their playoffs last year. So they're definitely on my watch list, and I owe our listeners a little bit more loose change on the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, and we talked about it last week, and they were fresh off a 7-game losing streak at this point. Had to get a little bit of a change of scenery with
7 is tough.
It is. No, it's the type of losing streaks that kind of can bury a season, and I think this is a team. As we got to remember, they did make a little bit of a run and kind of were able to stay afloat to make the playoffs last year, and there's not too much of a roster overhaul in terms of realistically the defense, and I think that was really Dumbo's the only one I can think of that's really gone off this team from last year.
Greenway,
yep. Well, I think he needed a change.
It's part of them being faster.
Yep, and it's allowed Marco Rossi to play with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, and he benefited in Chicago scoring twice. Zuccarello had a goal and 2 assists. I mean, I think if that line's working and they're able to kind of unlock, like Alex said, Kaprizov, it's a team that you got to be a little bit worried of, and we'll see if they can reclaim a little bit of ground in the Central, but definitely a team to keep an eye on, and that's why we talk about the Minnesota Wild. Into the Wild last week, out of the Wild this week. Any final closing thoughts on?
I would say like any team in the West right now is in the playoff hunt. We have Arizona. I know we just sang their praise, but they're far from a lock to make the playoffs.
Correct.
In St. Louis, it's the 2 wild cards. Like, it really is like, and I know we talk about like Thanksgiving, not many changes happen. There's a lot of parity in the league this year, especially with the not elite teams in the Western Conference. They're all kind of in this mixer.
I'm glad you bring up sort of the parity, right? So just across the league and trying to watch games, and then one game goes intermission, you try to catch another, and maybe you're trying to watch one whole game and bounce around. But like, I watch these teams, and it's like period to period, you could be looking at completely different teams. Yeah. Like that. We'll get to loose change, and we'll kind of cover other things. But like that Detroit Buffalo game last night, I'm watching. I'm like, dude, Buffalo sucks. They are awful. Those 2 teams as franchises, we've covered a ton of about how they've been building up prospects. Are they ready to take a step? Who's going to leapfrog who? And Detroit's the clear winner. And you watch that game, it was big boys versus little. They were beating the hell out of Buffalo. I go back to watching whatever else I was watching. Next thing you know, it's 4-3. Right? It was 4-0 to 4-3, 4-1 to 4-3. And teams are just coming out of nowhere. And I've seen a bunch of it with the Tampa Bay Lightning games I've watched where it's on and off, like flicking the light switch. And so those are just a couple that come to mind immediately. But it's a really kind of inconsistent league right now. Totally. And there are kind of your juggernauts that are out there, but even some of the juggernauts are getting wins and not playing that great. So it's hey, I don't think the NHL has ever been better, save for my issues with some of the fighting and penalty calling and eliminating checking and instigator rules and yada yada. But I mean, it's a good product, and it's very well balanced, and I don't think it could be more competitive.
No, I mean, looking at the standings, and we'll get into loose change here in a second, but it's Nashville is the closest odd man out at 26, Calgary, Minnesota, and Seattle are all kind of deadlocked within a point at 23 and 22, and then Edmonton's coming. So it's a wild card race that people are going to be watching until I think the end of the season, and it's going to be a fun one to keep track of, especially with Edmonton charging. And I think that's a good segue into our always weekly loose change, our little game recaps of what we've seen in the last week. And Ross, I know you were hard at work writing down your notes. Alex, I know you've got a plenty. Who wants to lead us off in game notes?
I've got a lot of loose change here, boys. It's very LA Kings heavy. I've been keeping an eye on my cup pick, and I feel really good about it. First one I'm going to start with, and apologies to our listeners, my chronology here is all over the place, so I'm trying to keep the calendar in mind. So forgive me if I bounce around here. When we finished recording, the late game that night was Washington LA. And I wanted to check that out because we had just covered on the pod how Washington, against all odds, is hanging around. This Washington LA game, I had caught the second and third periods, and some big takeaways there. Starts with 3 words. Charlie fucking Lindgren. So he's the brother of Ryan Lindgren on the Rangers. I learned that this week. This guy was unfreaking believable.
I saw some clips from that.
Oh my goodness, they were outshot 2-1. So apparently Washington was good. LA was out to a slow start in the first period that I didn't see. The entire game I saw, LA was dominating. Byfield, unreal. Pickpocketing Jensen, using his size, like playing with those excellent line mates. It was just incredible. I'm going to get back to that big line with Kopitar, Byfield, and Kempe in a little bit. But a couple big takeaways on the Caps. All right, my leading thought here on Washington. Leading thought: Charlie fucking Lindgren. Second leading thought: it's a new hashtag. Pains me to say it. Hashtag Slovechkin.
You're right.
This is a conversation. I'm glad you brought this up. We're talking about a guy who's on a 19-goal pace.
So I think the goals are going to come. I think he's going to be in the 30-goal range. I think that's just like water will seek its level.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I mean, he's never been hailed for his off-ice training and diet and all of those things. But he just looks fat and slow and old. And everybody's like, well, he looked like that last year. I don't think he did.
He didn't.
And he's had jump. He's always had jump to his game. Like, especially, I mean, when he broke into the league, he was the biggest electric factory I've ever seen. Maybe, like McDavid and then him, like as far as guys that just took the league by storm when they stepped in. But, now, what is he, 36, 37, 38? And 38. It's just, he's the puck's finding him because of he's Ovechkin. He's just got that timing, that instinct. He goes to where the puck's going to be, but he's getting these shots from decent danger areas that just don't feel like scoring chances.
Well, you bring up shots. What do you think his shooting percentage is right now?
Oh, it's got to be awful. I'd say 4%.
Yeah, I don't know, 7?
6.
Split the difference.
Yes, but that speaks a lot to a guy. I mean,
but also, I don't think he's getting all the same shots he's gotten. Now he's going to be better than that.
No, teams are going to try and plan for keeping him out of his office, and
but they can't. That's going to be a thing.
No,
still.
but the reality is he's only scored 1 power play goal, and where his
that's crazy.
That it is crazy, and that speaks to where his shot percentage has been. And I think when you lose a little jump, you lose a little bit of your edge of being able to get to those spots, but. He's been a guy that's been able to outsize and outpower people. I just don't know if people catch on. At 38 years old, it's things start to regress.
The power play shot's going to get there. He doesn't move on the power play. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about like him joining odd man rushes, being in the right positions there, 5-on-5.
Yeah.
That's where the power play. He doesn't need to move.
It's his skating. His skating is what's scary right now.
It really he looks entirely different. I'm with you. It's sad. And the other thing I will say,
I'm not ready to call it sad because it'll be sad if it's the end of the year and he has 22 goals and we're like, oh boy, is he going to
add another year?
Is he going to drag the Capital through an extra year?
Well, it seems like they're keeping all these.
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
But nobody else is either.
But my point is, it'll be sad then, right? It's not sad yet. It's alarming. But it's not yet sad.
Well, and the Capitals haven't buried themselves in that wild card chase. I think if they were out of it and it was more of you're speaking to this team at the bottom of the East, it'd be a little bit more, I think, towards your point, sad. Looking at the comparisons of obviously Sid the Kid and Ovechkin coming to the league basically at a similar pace. Crosby playing some of the best game we've seen in a long time, and he looks phenomenal.
He looks like he's in his prime.
Exactly, and then you look at Ovechkin, who it's clearly he's missing some, and maybe that's losing a guy like Backstrom and Kuznetsov has not been normal. He was a healthy scratch most recently. And
he can't skate.
I don't know what's going to happen to Kuznetsov's career. Like I don't know.
He's still making like $7-8 million. It's a lot.
I don't know if he's committed to playing in the NHL. Like I think he might be ready.
Yeah.
He might be
going back to Russia.
He's got his own shady off ice track record.
And he's kind of in that time for Russians where they look at the KHL with wide eyes. It's like he's in that era.
He goes home for a big payday, and he's got the Putin credit card. Yeah. But just a couple things on the Caps, right? We were wondering, right? Ovechkin stinking it up. Where are they going to get this production? How are they battling around a playoff spot? Mantha, McMichael, and Protas. That third line. Talk about, I mean, Mantha's been on a milk carton since, he flunked out in Detroit. I never really liked the guy.
Even in Detroit, he was that way.
Well, right. He showed early signs, right? Early promise, and then just right off a cliff. And there was that my trash for your trash Verona Mantha trade. And he's actually playing well right now.
Yeah.
This McMichael guy, he's buzzing around and winning faceoffs. And Protas is like, he's sort of like their Byfield. He's a big man, down low, gigantic man. And between the three of them, right? I mean, Mantha and Protas, that's a lot of size. They're hard on pucks. They're keeping the puck down low. They're winning a lot of those third line matchups and maintaining offensive possession. That was really impressive to me. That seems like a big aspect for why Washington's hanging around. Tom Wilson is kind of doing his thing and keeping the top six afloat. Big time, and throwing the weight around, keeping it clean, doing good things. Defensively, right? It's John Carlson, I think, is back to kind of being himself and looking
25
good.
minutes a night. It's a healthy John Carlson is a different Washington Capitals.
I think he may play for a long freaking. I think we might have like 5 to 6 more years of him.
And
be excellent.
Yeah, for sure. And Nick Jensen, steady Eddie back there. Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Finding his spot in the league.
It's kind of
right?
a good decoy.
They're doing all right. They're hanging in there, although they did get dominated in most of what I saw outside of that third line. So that was a big thing from that loose change, L.A., Washington. You guys have anything else on Washington?
No, I think that covers it. Hopefully Ovechkin can pull it out of the gutter.
All right. Are we going to save that L.A. Colorado game?
We are going to save that game.
All right.
I also have L.A. points when we get there.
All right. Good. Me too. All right, so then I caught Vancouver, Las Vegas. That was one, right? We had it circled because Van has been so hot, and obviously Vegas are the reigning champs and top dogs. My bullet before the game even started was, can Vegas force Vancouver to play D in their own zone? Because we have covered a million times, right? Hughes and Hronek, they don't play defense. They don't have to because they own the puck. They skate it out, and it's like a free zone entry, going the other way. The going got tough, and the Canucks didn't get going. Really, Las Vegas was just relentless on that forecheck. Just rolling four lines. I think exposed a little bit of Vancouver's depth. The decor, again, this was pre-Zadorov trade, but Vegas just dominated, outshot them 2-1, 4-1 win for Vegas. And to me, that was a little bit of a wake-up call that Vancouver is hot, and I think there's high upside. That power play remains extremely dangerous and really fun to watch. But this was a game where they played a veteran, deep championship team that didn't make mistakes, didn't allow that power play to beat them, and Vegas beat the hell out of the Canucks.
Oh, I think that speaks to, as our first topic of the night, it's why I think Vancouver is still eager to make moves and trying to boost the roster. And I think they're far from stopping in terms of making those moves. And you can look at the forward depth they can still add in terms of the bottom six. And I think in the defensemen, I still think, as we talked about it, if Tanev is available and you can make something happen for him, I think it speaks to a little bit of shoring up that D and being able to say you have a real top four defensive core. Looking at freaking Vegas, it's just consistency throughout, the full lineup. And that's where they're kind of, you got to put them on the scale and see where they lay with the top contenders. And that's where I think you can say Vancouver's not a contender in terms of where this hot start has happened. So, it speaks to what potentially needs to happen for Vegas to continue.
The other thing is, Vancouver's top heavy scoring, right? And I don't know if anyone is as top, I think anybody would kill to have their top end scoring from Pettersson, Miller, the production they're getting, Hughes, Hronek, right? That's gross and out of control. But when Vegas is coming at you in waves and Pettersson has to deal with Wild Bill Carlson playing defense on him, he's got to deal with Chandler Stevenson going stride for stride, not getting beat, all the way down the lineup. And then you have Keegan Colasar, Nick Roy, and the Carrier or whoever's on that bottom pairing, my boy Paul Cotter, right? Just the depth and using the fourth line, it's just coming at waves, and it exposed a little bit of Vancouver's depth. Mostly, I think, up front, but really front and back.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's something that if If I was a Canucks fan, this is something I'd be worried about. I mean, obviously you're happy with how the season's gone, of course. You got to be ecstatic, really. But can they handle that type of play? Because Vegas kind of plays playoff hockey all regular season. That's their style of play.
When they come to play, it's like
when they come to play, it's playoff hockey for a whole 60 minutes, and that's what they do. And that's what you're going to see other teams elevate to in the playoffs. Vegas is just kind of consistent with that. And they elevate too, but it's a little different. Vancouver needs to show a little bit more grind. Can they win when there's not space? And I think they can. They have the skill to, but it's still a question mark. And what is that third line going to be? Because it's not your classic third line.
Yeah. No, it's Garland, Bluger, and Joshua. I think they still haven't really unlocked Kuzmenko and Mikheyev. How do you say it? Mikheyev.
So who is a guy they need to get going.
Yes.
They absolutely need him to balance out that lineup.
Was he the one that said he was homesick? I can't remember if it was him or Kuzmenko. One of them.
No, it's Kuzmenko.
It was Kuzmenko. Yeah.
Who's performing, by the way.
They're unlocked.
He's producing. Yeah. He's producing. So whether he's feeling homesick away from the rink or not.
Brock Besser has 18 tucks. Like, they're getting their goals. It's just it's been top heavy, like you said, top six heavy, and they need a little bit of depth. And when you're going against the deepest team in the league, it's tough to watch.
Yep. And Vegas has the cheat code of Willie Karlsson, just being able to kind of match your top line, regardless of who it is. So then you have Eichel on your second line. And there's no way many teams can handle that, obviously. That's why they were so dominant in the playoffs. It's a really tough thing to deal with. I mean, I don't blame teams for not being able to deal with this.
Completely.
Vegas is very good.
Completely.
Keep it rolling.
All right. Believe it or not, I watched a little bit of Montreal-Seattle.
Oof.
Tough watch. Habs won that game 4-2, and it really brings a smile to my face to say I am officially out on Slafkovsky. He's officially a bust, according to me. He will never be worthy of the number one pick. I don't think he's going to have a long NHL career. He was consistently weak on pucks, getting pushed around, crying for penalty calls. He looked completely lost. I didn't see the compete. He wasn't able to really show the skill because he had guys all over him and he wasn't ready to fight through it. I know he's extremely young. I know he's gigantic, but he wasn't using his size. He wasn't displaying his skill, and I really didn't like body language out of him. More than body language, I mean, yapping at refs. It's like, dude, you, first of all, probably barely speak English. Second of all, he's 20 years old. Like, stop yapping at the refs. Figure it out. Play through it. Like, you're new to this league, and the league's going to move on without you if you don't figure it out. I don't think he's going to figure it out. I'm out on Slafkovsky.
No, it's a fair point, and it's a guy that they're still playing him with Caulfield and Suzuki on the top line. I know for a fact the Montreal media is ripping into this kid, and it's a tough kind of spotlight to break into. And unfortunately now they've lost Alex Newhook to an ankle injury for at least the next 3 months. Oof. So it's tough lookings for Montreal.
What do the numbies say on Slafkovsky, Jack? I didn't even check his stats.
Not good stats. I will say I'm not out on him.
This is all eye test. I don't even know what his stats are.
So I'm not out on him. I've heard actually a lot of good things from him, like from people who have watched him.
What do the numbies say, Jack?
2 goals, 5 assists for a -5 and an average of 15.04 average ice time.
He hasn't been good. Like he hasn't been putting up points. I'm just not ready to call it. I'm ready to say he shouldn't have been in the first pick because we have Logan Cooley, and I see signs of Logan Cooley already. Just elite playmaking, which Slafkovsky has not shown yet, and it's a really hard thing to just learn. But I'm not out on him. I think he could be a good NHL player still.
All right. I don't want to beat our listeners over the head with Montreal, Seattle. That's not a great topic for listening, for ratings. Just staying on the topic of I'm out. It is with great sadness that I announce my bullishness on Morgan Rielly stemming from the Leafs playoffs last year is officially gone. He's just not a good defender. And we kind of knew that, but he showed signs of figuring it. Just, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Morgan Rielly, and it's not even a real game note, but it's not looking good. And I think my Norris bet, you can pretty much wipe that one.
That's a tough look.
You can wipe that one.
No,
I just want to officially announce defeat on that. And that's what I've got on Morgan Riley.
You know, we know it's a hot topic, and probably the most scrutinized topic in Toronto media right now is that decor. And, you know, they just lost Klingberg to a hip for the rest of the year.
Which is sneaky good news for them.
Yes, but they've also lost Giordano for some time, and you know, that it's just a decor that needs help. And, you know, I think that's where, you know, unfortunately they lost out on the Zadorov sweepstakes. I don't know if they could make the cap work, and they're a little bit up against it, especially with these faces, with Nylander needing money in the near future. This Toronto team is struggling, and, you know, I think it looks at this week you saw TJ Brody in Nashville get asked for to find a new home, and it looks like they're obliging that. You saw the
TJ Brody asked for a trade?
Tyson Berry.
Sorry. That's a big miss on me. Big miss on me. No, but this is a guy who Tyson Berry.
The Leafs
Scary
don't need
Berry.
Tyson
No,
Berry.
I know, but Scary Berry is a guy who's on the market. You know, it sounds like Chris Tanev is also on the market.
So
Noah Hanifin
Tanev and Hanifin
would be the big looks here.
Those are big looks
Correct.
for Toronto.
Correct.
They don't need Tyson Berry, man.
No, I'm just setting the market. That's all.
They don't need Tyson
No,
Berry.
I don't think they need that reunion ever again.
TJ Brody asked for a trade. That would be news.
That's on me. I apologize, listeners. That was a brain fart on my part. But no, Toronto has struggled on the decor, and it's showing.
I'm not blaming that on Morgan Riley. Though.
That's where
I'm just not.
It's tough. I mean, they couldn't put a you know, it's a
They
Batman
they
needing
just
of
don't
a Robin.
have a defensive roster, and it's not about it's a mentality, it's coaching, it's how they play is not defensive.
Yeah.
And we saw what Morgan Riley can do. Like, he was great in the playoffs last year. I'm not ready to blame it on the player when the whole team looks bad defensively. I don't blame every single player on the team. I kind of look at other things like what's going on in the locker room, what's going on with the coaching. Something's wrong amidst everything, and I think Morgan Riley on a different team we would sing a lot higher praises for. Maybe
I'm early on bailing on Riley, but
I would not. Bail on the Norris.
Yeah, that's gone. That's toast. All right. So I said it. I got to stand by it. I'm out on Riley. Maybe he'll have me eat crow. We'll see. Moving on. Loose change. Ottawa, New York Rangers. Appointment viewing last night. I was really into that. Really, really good battle there to start the game. Both teams playing really hard out of the gates. Sloppy New York Rangers in their own zone. Some really, I think, uncharacteristic plays by their forwards on the half wall. There were like 6 or 7 times where, you know, great New York Ranger players, guys like Zibanejad, guys like Kreider, playing soft on the wall, unable to clear the zone, and it was just like turnover after turnover. And Ottawa was totally bringing it, totally pressuring. There was a sequence, and last night Brady Tkachuk just completely took over the game. There was a sequence, okay, where Brady Tkachuk has a puck down in the corner, him one-on-one with Trouba. He's protecting the puck, and Brady it stops and starts, just pivot, protect. Trouba's kind of hanging with him, but like Brady's just leaning into him, and like you see the whole Ranger team starts to kind of lose their positioning, do a little bit of puck watching, and as they start to kind of converge towards this little cluster in the corner that Brady is creating with Trouba, Brady gets it out to the point, goes across the side of the net, and boom, shot towards the net. Zibanejad gets a few steps out of position because he was cheating over to see if maybe Brady was going to beat Trouba and go to the net. So he cheats a little bit over, and Giroux sneaks behind the net, grabs a point shot, and tucks a wraparound, which you never like to see for Shesterkin giving up, but it was just a good synopsis there about just Brady Tkachuk really dragging the team into it, going after the biggest, baddest dog in the junkyard, and just his effort the whole game was just awe-striking.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of this game, and I had three takeaways from this. One, I just don't think the Rangers showed up. I was thinking about it for a bit, and I was like, should I be concerned about the Rangers? And I was just like, no, they didn't show up that night. Second is Ottawa, when they play, you can see their talent, and they don't always play, and it's infuriating because the talent on that roster is unbelievable. I mean, they have so much.
To your point, I mean, you saw 5 points between Giroux, Tkachuk, and Tarasenko, And, that's it. Josh Norris only had one, I think, an assist, but they're not unlocking potentially those three guys that, they've not three guys, but Giroux and Tarasenko have not been necessarily unlocked as Senators. And you look at it, you're going to get the production from Stützle, and the development has been there, but this team just has seemingly not wanted to click on, as I think what you're referencing. And I think you look at it, yes, the expectations were kind of, I think from the boys in our previews, we're kind of all over the place with this Senators team, but is it kind of safe to say, yes, they're only sitting at 10-10 actually, funny enough, no overtime or shootout losses. Is this biggest disappointment of the season? Can we label them?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm sticking by my Sens, dude. Like, they're going to make a push. They are. I'm standing by them.
That's right. You did certify.
Yeah.
You recertified on them last week.
If they don't get in the playoff hunt, it's they have too much talent. They just have so much talent. And I don't even hate the grinders on the team either. It's like, it's pretty infuriating how they play oftentimes, and I don't know what to attribute it to. I just don't.
And so I saw, right, obviously they're missing Pinto, and that's going to continue. And Pinto's going to, they're not going to have him until
Norris
January.
back. Like, Pinto shouldn't kill this team.
I know. And I saw this guy, Ridley Greig.
I was going to mention him.
Wears what, 71? He wears number 71 for them?
He's a prospect for him, but he plays like not a prospect.
Former number one pick in 2020, and, he's stepping in and getting those minutes that would have been Pinto's. And, he's played just 10 games. I think he had an injury that disrupted that. 7 points in 10 games. He's a +6. And, again, it's some depth, and it's showing you, right? They've built up this pool of talent from sucking for so long. I do believe in the Sens. I do. And Chychrun, really looking good. Sanderson has been, I think everybody's very high on Sanderson.
He's awesome. And Shabbat's not been healthy.
Hurt right now, yeah.
But, Shabbat is a very good player.
No, and that's where I think
they have three.
I think you and I are on a very similar page, but you also got to look at the Sens have only played 20 games. That's six less than the top or the amount of teams that the most in that division,
which is good.
Absolutely. It keeps your point alive, but I still think the disappointment's there, but we'll see if they're able to pull themselves out of it.
And, we joked at Artem Zub's expense, and he's playing some good minutes for them. And that's what they need with all those puck movers and goal scorers on the blue line. They need some Zub and Hamonic to kind of balance things out, and they're getting it.
The other guy I like too.
Not that they're 10-10, right? But like when they're moving, it's those guys that are helping sturdy everything out.
All these players that if I were to tell you about all of them and their ups, you would say this is one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. Well, you would think, but
dude, the way I can talk about all these guys, I also like Bernard Docker on the defensive core. I think he shows signs of being great. And I'll give you my last hot take, which really I don't know what to think about this. And I'm not on the hot take because I thought about it a little bit. But coming out of that Rangers-Sens game, I was like, when Brady Tkachuk is playing well, he's better than Matthew, and he might be a top 10 player in the league. Like, he's unbelievably impactful. You see him every shift.
Playing center ice.
He's dominant. Like, he's just so good when he's on his game. It's because he has a great shot. I think he has a better shot than Matthew. He's not as good of a passer, but he's got a better shot. He can score more cheap goals, and he's physical on every single shift.
So I've talked extensively about Adam Oates and his perspective on hockey being probably the best perspective that's out there on hockey, as arguably the second best passer in the history of hockey. And now he does this high skill coaching business where he works with players in the NHL on a tutoring basis with his team of guys that watch video, and he gives tips with his hockey savant knowledge. And so he was on Kipper and Bourne recently this week, and he talked about how with the new age players, right, there's not a lot of body checking and player development coming up, and so guys don't really know how to play in close quarters with contact. And one thing Brady Tkachuk does so well, because he's not the fastest guy, but he plays close to the defenders and uses his reach, his size, his skill to kind of balance the pace of play, because he doesn't need to be moving his feet so much while he can angle guys off and help kind of slow things down, find a passing lane, find a shooting lane. It's pretty special the way that he does that, because when he doesn't have the puck, he's flying around on 30-second shifts trying to put everybody through the glass, and he's got a sharp stick. And that was the best. Again, that was the best Brady Tkachuk has to offer in that Ranger game, and that was pretty elite stuff.
But he shows that like every 5 games he has those games.
And that's where I think you look at this Sens team, they need a little bit of consistency. In that week, yes, you had the loss to the Panthers 5-0, where they mucked everything up, and you saw everyone on the ice get the 10-minute misconduct, and then you see them absolutely unlock that talent versus the best team in the league in the Rangers in a 6-2 win. And that's where you ask the question, need a little bit of consistency from Ottawa. Can this be that turning the page of where your Sens come alive? And as we talked about, they still have 6 games in hand with anyone in the division, so it's anyone's kind of still to grab. But they've dug themselves a hole. They're sitting in 8th, but games to be had, and that's where you look at point percentage.
My hot Ottawa take: maybe the future of the winning Senators doesn't include Thomas Chabot.
I think that's a good take, because I didn't think I was going to say this when they traded for Chikrin, but I think Chikrin and Sanderson are better than him.
That's the future.
It's a lot to say, because Chabot could be better than a point-a-game player, right? He could be a 90-point defenseman.
He's great.
Which we talk about, right? We love our termites and we love our grind, but like the name of the game is scoring goals and not allowing goals.
And we know how Ottawa feels about Sanderson with that big deal that they signed him in the offseason.
Well,
so
that's a steal.
But Chabot's definitely not an in-season move. That's an off-season move. So we'll get around to that. But yes. I'm leaning more in that direction, especially seeing some of the ways that they're playing. And it's sort of a redundancy of skill on the blue line, which sounds crazy. But
also, why? It's not like they need forward depth. They don't need more scoring wingers. It's not like they need to go make a big move for someone.
Maybe a big kicker.
I don't know.
Korpisalo has been weak.
I thought Korpisalo would be better for them, but
But they have 2 forwards. I think Tkachuk and Stützle could both be 100-point forwards.
Stützle.
I think they both should be 100-point forwards.
Stützle for a second.
Unbelievable.
He's
awesome. All the talent.
So you said Brady top 10. I think Stützle is like noticeably better than Brady. Completely different players, and I love the Brady style player more than I like the Stützle, but he is just a very special form of elite, and I really dig his compete level. And I mean, this guy's really fun to watch, and I'm very excited for his career and watching him continue to develop, because he's already arrived. Right, it's no longer any kind of an upset.
And this is a game where Stützle he may have had an apple, but
maybe he didn't get on the score sheet.
No,
but
that's where you look at this team and you're like, wow, it could be that much better. And even when nights like Stützle doesn't show up on the score sheet, they still have these guys that you would think that would. And finally it's turned. Hopefully they're turning a page for Ross's stake, as he doubled down on them last week.
Anything on Ottawa Rangers before we move on?
No, I think it's time for the Hughes sister showdown in Vancouver.
I've got one more game before that. Detroit Buffalo.
You talked a little bit about it.
A little bit. Buffalo's neutral zone blows.
It's a miss. It's
a disaster. It's a disaster.
No, it's not good.
Detroit and Army. Keep me honest, right? You watch a hell of a lot more Detroit than I do, but I've watched a decent amount the past 3 weeks or so. Detroit does a really good job of maintaining puck possession. And when it's free-flowing game and nobody's hemmed in, and it's sort of that, basically you're playing between your dots in the red line and trying to get your zone entry going, right? If they don't see what they like, they will not dump it. They will circle it back. They will hang on to the puck, and they will really kind of own that possession 5-on-5, some of the same ways that teams do in the 3-on-3 overtime, right? Like they will always be patient hanging on to things. And I saw that as compared to Buffalo, which could be so easily drawn out of position, guys looking in the wrong directions. And then when Buffalo had the puck, they were just going for these stretch passes, low percentage, missing the guys, and just coughing up turnovers. And it felt like the puck was on Detroit's stick the entire time. Now, my question before we get to other topics there, did you see the turn of the tide in that game when Buffalo came back and made it close?
Yeah, and it was just an energy thing. They came out firing. I thought Tage looked great for his first game back. Skinner made 2 great plays. One to set up a goal, which was just a great pass, and then one to just finish a goal. They were just elite level plays, Did
it kind of happen like in a flash?
It happened coming out of the period. It was
start of the third.
Yeah. And to be fair, Buffalo had shown flashes of it. Like they came out of the gates flat, and then a lot of goals were put up by Detroit. It gets out to 4-0. And
some good, some bad goals, right? Like that. It wasn't like Detroit wasn't like Harlem Globetrotters, but like they were dominating puck possession, and they weren't like grade A's that found the back of the net, but they were owning puck possession.
Yeah, they were getting chances. They were getting enough chances to where some of them go in. And they scored on the power play. That helps a lot too.
Buffalo did in the comeback.
No, but Detroit did to start too.
Okay.
Like Mo Seider had a nice shot from the like they were just. It didn't seem like they were capitalizing on unfair amount of plays.
Okay.
But Buffalo in that stint also, I think that could have been like a 4-2 game going into the third. You even texted Alex Lyon was unbelievable.
He made some big time.
He had some legitimate goal-saving saves, like just straight up grade A scoring opportunities that he saved.
And also newsflash, like what has Alex Lyon done in the NHL that suggests he shouldn't be a 1 or a 1A goalie?
I don't know. He didn't play for the first 20 games for Detroit.
All he did was step in late last year for the Panthers and allow them into the playoffs. And now this is the first game I've seen him in Detroit. Has he been good for Detroit this year?
He's been fantastic. He's
So-
the borderline starter right now because of how well he's played.
So small sample size. We're looking at something like 30 career starts.
He's been great.
Like he's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like he's Johnny come lately, right? 30-year-old rookie. But like I mean.
They're stubborn about the Husso. I think when they made the trade.
Well, no, but the
Trainer
Husso's
signing.
not the issue.
No, I know. I'm not
They
saying
traded
that.
for
I'm not-
Husso, but the issue is that we had James Reimer playing games.
No, I think James Reimer. You just
Reimer,
you gotta
you bum.
remove Reimer from the situation. The 3-goal
Reimer,
situation
Reimer,
is just
you
not
bum.
what's gonna need to be. I think a Husso, Lyon type, not maybe necessarily a Swayman Olmark situation, but could be a powerful little combo.
Lyon
for
is
this.
starting the games now. He is the first choice at the moment, but they ride the hot hand. Yeah, but Buffalo, I don't love the forward group, to be honest. I don't think they're that good.
All right.
No, they're
I do have
they're
some other
digging
game notes
themselves
on that
deeper
game.
and
Yeah,
deeper.
yeah. Fire away. I've got 2 more big ones.
Okay, I'll go one and then I'll go back. I think Owen Power is still soft. I know he's good.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing.
Like there was one play where Fabry's in front, and it's like Owen Power, just go cross check him.
Power's net front sucks, and it's not just this game. I've seen it was against the Bruins. There's another play. He's in front, biggest fucking guy on the ice. He's right there. He's got the reach. He's in fine foot positioning, right? Like his foot's there, but his stick's in the wrong place, and he's not tying up guys' sticks, and he's not bodying people. It's like, dude, you are gigantic. Like you are the unicorn. Like grow the fuck up. I mean, again, he's what, right? 20
No,
years
but
old.
it seems like he needs to go cross check somebody into the boards.
Yeah,
You
and
know, I would be a lot more excited about his career if he would do that. Because I understand offensive aggression sometimes comes later, but he has none of that right now. He's afraid to take a shot.
It's just surprising because he's on a team with Dahlin.
That's the other thing. You
plays
get the
like
other
such an
spectrum.
asshole. Like
Dahlin is the biggest dickhead.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. That's why he's
Yeah.
good. Like he's so impactful and he's ripping shots. He's doing the reverse hit
his
on people.
confidence is through the roof.
He plays incredibly well. If he got a little hint of Dahlin's mentality and attitude towards the game, I would believe in Owen Power a lot more. I don't see any dirt. I don't see any sandpaper right now.
It's the age-old topic, right? You can't teach that mentality. I don't think guys grow into it. I just don't. I think you are or you aren't. And that's what makes me nervous. But again, it's way too early. I'm not dishing out an out on Power thing.
I'm not either.
I've referenced Hedman before and how bad Hedman looked early in his career. And I don't think Power looks that bad. It's just these soft spots that are killer. And it kills the team.
Super soft. I get annoyed.
It's so
on some
funny
of
that
those
you were
plays.
on that. That was my Power net front. Was my bullet there.
It's bad. And the one of the Fabry goals, you see Power just like leaning, and it's like, go fucking take him out,
Put Fabry on his back, dude. Like that's a fly. Swat him.
Take a penalty if you want to. It works.
And also if you have to. Like that's a good place to take a penalty. Loose puck in front, you dump the guy, you go for 2. Like, I'm sorry. Like that's a good penalty to take in front of your own net, like denying a goal. Also, tie up a stick. You're 3 times his size. Like that shouldn't be difficult. All right, you're gonna like my next bullet. I don't like his celebrations.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not thrilled about the viral sensation. But Jake Wallman is a takeaway artist. Remember the peanut punch, Charles Tillman?
Oh, very well.
Jake Wallman is that thing in hockey. When guys enter the zone, and you see it all the time, the forward's entering the zone, he's flying full speed wide, and Wallman matches foot speed and throws that one-handed wraparound poke check and just strips the guy, stops on a dime, Forward keeps going, picks a puck up and breaks out. He does that consistently. Even when the forward protects the puck and they go kind of around to the far wall, he sticks with them. And time after time, he refuses the cycle. He refuses the centering pass. And it's not just shutting it down. It's taking it. It's the pick six. Not literally pick six, but it's turning the puck over and moving out. And he does that phenomenally well. One of the only guys I've seen that does it similar to that is Keandre Miller, who we've talked a lot about. And Miller is also a little bit of a physical unicorn with his size and kind of foot speed. Wallman, obviously smaller dude, but he is so crafty in that area. His stick is elite.
So Ross, you asked me the NHL video game, NHL 24 came out. Wallman's rated an 81, and you're like, isn't that low? I didn't really know what this setup with the ratings was, like what a good rating was. So I was like, I don't know. Like last year, he was unbelievable. I think he played like a good top pairing defenseman, to be honest.
So that's the video game. You know what the real rating system is?
What?
Cash. So he signed for $4 million.
Yeah.
Is he a $4 million defenseman?
I think he's playing like a $6 to $7 to $8 million defenseman.
I think he's a $5 or $6 million defenseman.
Like he's unbelievable, and it's really hard when you see a player come in and like play this well to to adjust your expectations, right? It's like, oh, is he just playing well, or is he like just this good? And I think we're getting to that point because he's great at puck possessing. He makes great passes. He's got a bomb, plays good defense. Like the game, Detroit kind of owns the ice when him and Side are on the ice. They just do.
They're not playing as a pairing this year, are they?
They are.
They still are? All right. Maybe it was just funky line changing and I wasn't totally in on the game.
Yeah.
I saw Sider with Sherratt for a bit, and I was like, somebody get Sherratt off the ice. Yeah, he's tough. In the wrong way.
Yeah, but I love the Wallman love.
You got anything else, Detroit Buffalo?
Yeah, I have two other points.
Without driving us completely off a cliff on your Red Wings.
Two other points. One is Tage Thompson looks good. I know we were a little down on him to start. He makes plays that are unbelievable. And his ability to, like, we talk about Buffalo being bad in the neutral zone. It's not about Tage. He makes some just like where he just slides the puck across and he's in the zone.
One thing on Tage, right? Obviously, a little bit of a slow start. I've abandoned the Mario because he's not Mario. But he's always a threat to score.
Yeah, he's really good.
And, like, he just, with his reach and his stick skills, like, when he's just anything but, like playing his worst game, he's just always he can score from anywhere in the offensive zone.
Yep.
No matter how tight the D is, no matter how little space there is, he can create space like nobody else because of his size and stick skill. Because I think the only guy with comparable size and stick skills is Matthews, but Matthews is a solid 2.5 inches shorter than him. And I think the stick skills are probably on the level or better and just more consistent and more proven. But like that's the level of player that he's on the doorstep of becoming. So. Yeah,
no, I'm not out on him. I think Buffalo needs to be a little bit better for him.
And I'm not out on him either, by the way.
But
I'm going to stop calling him Mario.
Yeah, I think he could have a Mario season with a great Buffalo. I think he could have that type of season. Last point, call me biased. That's totally fine. I'm bought in on Dylan Larkin, top 10 center in the league at this point. He's not one of the top 5. The top 5 are kind of an exclusive group, and he doesn't have that level. But I think top 10. And it may not be all in the points, but the way they play when he's on the ice and the ability to make a mistake turn to just garbage for the other team, like he can just take the puck and go. I'm fully sold on it.
So he's more of like a Selke type of a guy.
A little bit.
But I think he can put up 95, 100 points.
No, I'm not denying that. I think that speaks more to what he's developed himself as a point producer, but also as a 200-foot guy, and that's where I think you're trying to hammer home that point is that he is transformed the center role for that number one line in Detroit, and or two, is he playing 1 or 2? I mean, comp for
he's the
him.
First center.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
His line is the number one line on the ice every night.
Can you hit 100 points without 30 to 40 power play points?
I think he's going to start getting, like, he's been good on the power. This is the thing. He continues to get better, especially in the areas where he wasn't, which is scoring on the power play, doing all those things. Like, he continues to get better. And
I'm not denying the player value, but when you put the 100-point label out there, you need to understand that you can't get there without big PP production.
I understand. I think he has that in his abilities. All right. He hasn't had an elite Detroit power play.
Does he play bumper or net front?
Bumper.
bumper. Okay.
And his one-timers have been great. Like, he continues to get better.
Sidebar. Best bumpers you've ever seen in the NHL. Recent history. I got 2 guys that come to mind.
Who are your 2 guys?
You want them right out of the gates? That's kind of cheating.
Yeah.
Let him have it. Let him hear it.
Bergeron.
Okay.
And not within the last 2 years, but more like 3, 4, 5 years ago, TJ Oshie.
Yeah, TJ Oshie was really good. Bumpers are hard because they're not oftentimes the best player in the power play. Oddly, you'd think that guy, but like the puck, it's hard to get the puck to the bumper.
I think it's the toughest position on the like traditional umbrella.
But they don't put the guy there either. Like the best player in most power plays is not
half
the
wall
bumper.
or the point or
half wall or
the
the point.
Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes. But those are my 2. You guys don't have a response. I'm blindsided.
I don't. I
I
really don't because it's hard. Like you don't think of the iconic power play guys as the bumper
because you're always dealing in traffic. You have the most when the puck comes to you. You don't have any time, but you also have the most options, right? You're at the center of the geometry there for the setup. So if you know where it's going, you're able to think the game a step ahead. And when the puck's coming to you, you already know where you're going with it. Mm-hmm. Whoa!
I do have one,
and the turnaround quick shot is huge.
I have one. I'm gonna go Braden Point. I think he's very good, and he's not as much of your shoot first. Like he kind of floats a little bit. Like he's a floating bumper.
Yeah.
That's the weird part about it.
Yeah, I mean that Tampa Power.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's sick. All right. Moving on from Detroit Buffalo.
Yeah, we gotta let's go to the Hughes
sisters.
The Hughes sisters, the Hughes Bowl. I think I saw that. Whoever had the game last night showed Mama Hughes with the little Vancouver and New Jersey mixed scarf, which you love to see.
Do you? I mean, what does that do for you, Jack?
Oh, we see it with the St. Brown as Alex walks out of the room. St. Brown family with the Bears in Detroit, and lately, most recently, they have the mixed jersey. I kind of just love to see it, and it speaks to the genes that your family has been able to produce. And when you've got 3 sons in the NHL that are going to be superstars for a long time to come,
just really quickly.
Wear the proud.
Really, really quickly on the sisters. When I saw last year, a couple things happened. Luke Hughes, I watched a lot of him at Michigan, and I'm just sitting there saying, holy shit. He's the biggest one. He's got some of the similar skating and puck moving traits as the others. Last year was also Jack Hughes, welcome to the NHL, 99 points. How are you, superstar? And Quinn Hughes doing his thing, but this year's really been Quinn's biggest ringing the bell moment. And so in all of that, I'm sitting there and it's like, all right, well, Jack went 1-1, Luke went 4, and Quinn went 7. It's like, all right, Luke Hughes way too early. We're still figuring it out, but other than some obviously soft, I think growing into the NHL plays, he's ahead of schedule as far as NHL development goes.
I mean, he is a favorite for the Calder at this point.
Jack is a full-blown superstar. If there was a complete redraft of the entire NHL, he's probably going top 10. And Quinn is leading the entire NHL in points, and it's him and Makar for Norris, and he's beating Makar right now by a significant margin.
And I think you look at Quinn, and I know it's been talked about before, but he has taken, I think the Vancouver and the media was like, all right, well, yes, we see the offensive potential from this guy as a defenseman, but as a defenseman, where's the shutdown? And I think he's really spoken to his defensive numbers. I think they're a little bit – I don't have them in front of me, so I'm not going to get into the stats of it, but I think he's shored up his game as a complete defenseman rather than –
So you know what Quinn's done a little bit of that I've seen in watching a lot of Vancouver so far early? And albeit, right, small sample, and I've got Vancouver on a hot streak, right? So this is as good as it gets. But him with the puck, it's a no-brainer. Him without the puck, I'm seeing a little bit of a Jared Spurgeon type of he's craftier. He's not on that Spurgeon level yet because Spurgeon needs to go to levels there without the puck because he can't get to the levels that Quinn can get to with the puck, obviously. But, I'm seeing the development there with Quinn Hughes of doing better away from that. It's obviously still not great, but if he can get to average, you couple that with what he does with the puck on his stick, and that's Norris candidacy for another decade type stuff.
Mm-hmm. And one thing you said at the beginning of the year, which I think was a fair point, doesn't play PK. He's playing PK2 now.
Yeah, yep.
And I think that I don't know if I'd want Quinn Hughes on PK1.
No.
So
You don't need him blocking those shots. You don't need him.
You don't want him. Like, you just don't.
And he's going to eat so many minutes all game. Like you don't want.
You want him when he can make an offensive impact.
And also, like conversely, right? You only have so many defensemen to play all game. So like you want him to dominate 5-on-5 time on ice.
Yes.
When it's PK, you have other guys that can't do close to what he can do. That you can jam out there that know how to play that position. You know, like Derek Forbort, he's a great penalty killer. He doesn't belong in the same fucking warehouse as Quinn Hughes, right? Like
exactly.
It's just so there are guys like Tyler Myers, right? Like,
But
other guys
I
on
do
their
like
roster.
to see that they'll still put him out there. I don't. To me, it shows it's not like he can't do it. It's
Maybe bringing in Zadorov means they want to even lessen that load. Who knows?
I would want him on the penalty kill as little as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'd be the best defenseman on that team in the penalty kill.
Right.
I just don't want him there.
Right. Maybe like playoffs got to have it, right? You're just trying to do whatever you can
put
do,
your
empty
best
the
players out
bucket.
there.
But I think especially over the balance of 82, I agree.
Yeah. In terms of before we move off of Luke Hughes, his role as being.
We were talking about Quinn there.
No, I know we are, but I want to shift in terms of Luke. Is now you've seen New Jersey with Dougie Hamilton hitting the shelf for a while. This is going to open up. This is going to open up a bit of a role for the young defenseman. And yes, I think in this one, Siegenthaler led the minutes for New Jersey with like 26. I think Hughes was up there with 21 or something around the minutes of that. And I think they have a lot of trust in your boy Kevin Ball.
BAHL
Ball.
Yep.
I think that's how they say it.
Yeah, like a testicle.
Sorry, Luke Hughes only 16 minutes in this one, but
Interesting.
no, it's
How many minutes for Nemec?
21.
Huh.
Big load. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
So you mentioned Hughes around the Hamilton injury. I think Nemec is really the guy that's stepping in before they were necessarily ready for it now. And I think for Devils fans, and I've been talking to my Devils buddies this week, and I should have gotten more pointers for the pod, but we'll return to this. It's like Nemec and Luke Hughes. Those are two very, very highly touted prospects. But that's a lot. There was a line on the broadcast. It was like, Lindy Ruff has said, we don't want to get too young too fast on D. And I don't really see a way around it because those are probably like just your best options with Dougie out of the lineup. And you're just going to have to deal with growing pains, and you're going to have Nemec eating minutes like that and Luke Hughes continuing to do what he's doing.
Oh, and, I think who'd they let walk out at they got rid of Severson this offseason, and I think Colin Miller was the 7th defenseman coming into the year. He steps into that 6th role.
Yep.
He's only seeing 12 minutes a night, so nothing too significant from Colin Miller. But it speaks to where you're seeing this team at 12-10 and 1. It has not been what you saw last year, and I think as we look at it and look at the competitive metro that they're in. It's a little bit of a concern for this Devils team. I don't think that the goalie expectations last year were seeing as many shots, and now they're seeing it, and it's relying a little bit of, on Vanacek and Schmid to really produce for these guys. Last night, in terms of the game itself, because we haven't talked too much about the Jersey and Vancouver game, you saw in the last, I think it was 2 goals in the last 6 minutes. Both of them off rebounds, specifically Vegas tying the goal off.
Vegas, Vancouver.
Before
we get to kind of the end of the game,
that's fair. I caught the big heavy third period, so that's where I go on it.
And we'll get there. I'm curious what you guys think of this, because my big takeaway from this game, other than all of the Hughes sisters hysteria and mom and the matching scarf and mom and dad and all the points, all 3 were on the score sheet, but. I watched that first period, and I come away thinking to myself, New Jersey, Vancouver, these are kind of similar teams. I think they're similar teams. Like, they've got like the ultra high end scoring up front. On defense, we've talked about we've already buried the whole Vancouver roster balance. And, they've got that elite top pairing, but then they've got some kind of weaknesses therein after that. And on the New Jersey side, it's like you got Marino, who I know the pod's a big fan of. Marino, Luke Hughes, that's pretty good. And then you've got the banger Ball down low. Nemec is now coming up. And I don't know. The way that they play, they felt like very similar types of teams to me. with Vancouver, I think playing a little heavier last night, throwing bodies around and being a little bit more physical and pressing, especially late. But during the course of the game, I looked at the two teams. I said, these are kind of similar squads. What do you think?
I don't think you're wrong on that, but my concern with that is I think that should be not great for the outlook of New Jersey going forward. They've invested a lot in players to be around Jack Hughes, but not for a player to be close to a level of Jack Hughes. They are a Jack Hughes team. Like that's what they've invested in. They got a lot of $7 to $8 million wingers right now, and they're not expecting them to be point a game players. They're expecting them to be 60 to 80 point a game players.
They want 80 out of Bratt.
I know.
You know, Brad had 2 in this one.
They want 70 out of Meyer. It's not looking good.
No, you bring up Meyer, and I don't want to completely side rail you, but you know, I think you look at this acquisition, and it's been a complete failure. You know, and yes, it was Meyer coming off of a hot year and a career year. I think
30 games in, by the way, right? 7 playoff games.
No, we are,
now,
but no,
10 playoff games. 11.
It's been a chunk.
Not.
No, we're probably at 45 games in terms of what he'd had after the deadline.
Just about.
And
it's a half a
what we've
season.
seen. But it has been nothing short of very disappointing.
Dismal.
And he had a career year in a team in San Jose who has nothing near the talent that New Jersey has. So it's a little scary.
I hate ball washing arm dog too much, and I think he's gotten a lot of credit this pod, and unfortunately, I think he's earned it. You were all over this. Meyer looked like shit, and he got completely walked by Quinn Hughes on one of those big goals late. He was just invisible. The one moment he stood out was a weak pressure to the point and getting completely turned around and walked at the blue line by Hughes. Quinn
On the Lafferty tip,
something like that.
I love Sam Lafferty.
They paid him as a point a game player.
I hate Sam Lafferty, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's shitty hockey IQ.
For his IQ, I think he works.
He works hard.
He works really hard.
Does not work smart.
I hear you. I mean, he's a big penalty killer for that team, and I hear you. We're not here to talk too much about Sam Lafferty. Palat.
I think his hockey IQ counts about as high as his tooth count.
So I know you don't want to get into the end of the game, but Palat.
No, we're there.
Palat set up the game-winning goal. He was able to settle the puck with a little kick to the feet, and then he was able to dish it over to the point shot. But
you're ignoring the comeback, Jack. The comeback, brother.
No, I'm not trying to skip. I'm skipping around in terms of the chronological order. I'm just saying I loved what I saw from Palat, and I thought it was a really high skill, high IQ move to settle the puck. Finally,
Palat's a solid player. The guy's good.
It was just an impressive hockey play. That's all.
I actually had Palat for a few minus plays during the course of the game. Not gonna lie, he was big late.
He's a huge late. That's all. That's all.
We know
Again,
what
like I said,
know what Palat is. Palat's a good player. Like we know what Andre Palat is going to bring to the team.
Are you guys surprised that Palat's yet to hit the 1,000 game mark?
No.
How old
he's
is he?
maybe 31, 32.
I think he's the 700 game. I think he's played 700 games.
He missed
because he's had injury
missed
problems.
a big year. Didn't he miss at least a year?
Missed a lot of games.
Yeah, no. So like they mentioned, I think his total. I think that was his 700th game the other night.
He's missed a lot of games,
and it was kind of a reminder to me that he's had such injury issues.
32. He is a 32-year-old.
All right, so I mean, 1,000 at 32 is asking an awful lot. So I'm sorry to kind of side rail us there. It's just a reminder that he's had so many injuries in his career. But no, Palat's a good player, and I'm not here to bash Palat. But excuse me, thank you, Brother Zach. The comeback there, the comeback.
Yep.
Did we all watch the third period?
Yep.
No.
Okay, Army didn't. Before I get there, 88 ball on New Jersey, running around. He tried to line up Zadorov.
I've seen him before. Yeah.
And I'm so upset Zadorov sidestepped his check. That would have been like
collision.
It might have
Big bodies.
created a little bit of an earthquake out there.
Would have been like one of those
British Columbia.
You know, when
registered on the Richter scale.
when
Maybe.
they crash test cars and they
Oh,
showed
yeah.
those videos. One of those ones.
And so Ball, he took an absolute run at Zadorov, which is like, whoa, your eyes light up when you hear that. And he took another run at Hoglander, missed both, but but you know he tries to bring that. He's trying to be kind of wrong side of the Hudson River Trouba, and I think he's a few steps below, but he brings toughness that New Jersey sorely needs, especially on the blue line. But the comeback, boys. So I've been all over JT Miller this year, and there's a sequence. JT Miller comes in on the forecheck and lights up Bastion, causes a turnover, wins a puck battle, gets it up. I forget who ended up putting it in. Miller didn't put it in, but he appled on it, and just like it was just a balls play. At the time, they're down 5-2 in the third. He makes that play, makes it 5-3. About 18 minutes left in the game. Rusty throws in a little money line touch on Vancouver, and it was a pure vibe play. And the damn Nucks answered, rallied all the way back to 5-5, only to blow it late. And I could not believe they blew that after the comeback.
It was tough.
Oh my god!
I mean, I was with.
I got him at like plus 1,200 and change.
I was with the senator up at the Stanley Club, and I texted Ross. He said he had the comeback, and it was looking good, and we were really excited, especially as the second pitcher hit the table for a little overtime hockey, and 30 seconds left, and all it was ruined by freaking Jesper Bratt and
a few pitchers.
But no one on our team goes up, so it's just Brian and I holding down the club.
A few pitchers.
Got
to. So that was tough. But yeah, I mean, just Vancouver just poured it on, and the home crowd got into it. And it's funny, Arm and I were talking off pod. Shame on us, about home ice advantage, right? And there was just a little bit of a turning point there, Army, where Miller throws that huge check on Bastion. They score to make it 5-3. All of a sudden, it's a 2-goal game in the third period at home. And this team's been vibing all year, and it was just like, whoa!
Feel it.
Here comes the vibe train.
The vibe train being Quinn frickin' Hughes. I mean, on the tying goal, he corrals the puck at the top of the point. He's got I think like you said, Meyer in pressure, rips a quick. It was a higher snapshot than normal that gets through, but a quick shot that was able to have a little net front presence from Lafferty, who was able to tip it, but. Surprised, I think it was Schmidt in this one, maybe Vanacek, I can't remember. But,
it was Vanacek last night.
But just a great heads-up play from Quinn Hughes on that one. And then the game-tying goal, fights off a check at the top of the point, keeps the puck in, tries shooting it, keeps control of it, finds it on the half wall, comes down low, shoots the puck on net, rebound finds Hoglander, and finishes it in the back of the net. And it's just like, holy hell, this guy is he's fucking special. And you can't knock him off the puck, and you don't want him with the puck in the offensive zone. So Quinn Hughes. It was plain and simple, unbelievable.
Couple Hughes sisters loose change items. Luke Hughes, kind of a broken play. I think somebody blocked a shot. Puck just finds him. He just grips and rips right through traffic, top corner. Elbow macaroni. He didn't have the best game. I think he struggled a little bit with some Vancouver's forechecking, and it was just that quick little reminder, you got a real one on D.
They're all sick.
They're fucking.
They're all they all make plays that you're just like, oh my god. Every one of them will make a play that just I don't know. 20 players in the world can make.
Have we seen in all of sports? Is there three or you have the Canseco brothers and special.
That's who you. Pick.
No, I'm just trying. No, that's just what popped up in my mind. But I don't know if there's a special.
Pardon?
Well, I guess the Suter brothers in hockey would be the best.
That's right.
Sutter brothers would be the best.
Maybe
the Stalls. It's just. But I think this is a family that could. Yes, the Stalls have their Stanley Cups, but
yeah, but Mark Stahl's kind of a grinder. Mark Stahl's not in any All-Star.
They're not
games.
the same level.
No,
none of them
also,
are this.
He's
none
also
of them
38,
are
39 years old.
I don't think any group of brothers has ever had the potential for what these three can be. If Luke can never figure it out, which I think there's almost a 0% chance of, unless there's horrible injuries, which obviously we want everyone to be healthy. So I think Luke looks like a slam dunk, but Quinn Hughes, you can make the argument right now that Quinn Hughes is the best defenseman in the league, that Jack Hughes is the best forward in the league.
It's there.
Yep.
It's a stretch, but it's there.
It's a stretch, right? Again, it's not completely wild.
Quinn and Jack are both top 20 players in the league.
No
Maybe
question.
top 10.
No question.
Top 10.
No question. Top 20.
I'll certify top 10.
I think top 10 is pretty fair.
I mean, it's insane.
And then Luke looks like he's on the same path.
So I don't want to. Again, we try to be honest here on the pod, and I know I did coin the phrase the Hughes sisters. Jack Hughes bitching to the referees last night. He comes flying into the zone.
Makes a great move, by the way.
He always makes a great move.
No, I know. It just was.
And it wasn't this egregious tug him down pre-lockout dragout. It was this ticky-tacky, I want a free slashing bullshit call. And he doesn't get the call. and it's late in a close game. They're in the process of blowing this lead, and his team's completely like fallen off the rails. And what does he do? He completely stops playing and throws his hands in the air and starts bitching at the referee during live play while the puck is in his skates.
Yep.
With his hands in the air, yelling at the ref. And it's like, dude, I know you scored 99 points last year. I know you're like becoming the face of the league and, maybe already. But like, you're not this like grizzled veteran that like has that, like, don't develop that reputation that like Crosby had in his first few years of like bitching all the time and being too loud for your games played stat. Like, don't do that. And he did. And I'm not going to lie, they didn't pan to mom and dad in the crowd, but they could not have been happy watching that.
I hear you on that.
It was a bratty play. He looked like a brat out there.
I think he'll learn.
He looked like a spoiled brat, and I think that's a little bit of an issue with him. Is that he's so goddamn good, and he's so like he's got the world by the balls. Good looking kid, just signed a ticket, like 99 points last year. Like he's got the world by the balls. I just think he's I
grind your gears.
I'm not concerned about it. I hear not liking the play. I'm with you. I saw that play too.
A bratty, pretty boy, pain in the ass move.
Dude, he's young.
Yeah.
It'll. I'm not concerned. I hear you though. I don't like the play.
I know. And what did the hockey gods do? The hockey gods rewarded him with a regulation win. If I hate it, it's good for the league. File it under that category. But that kind of bothered me.
They were on the sides of Jack and Luke versus of an overtime potential phenomenal finish. But no, New Jersey wins this one 6-5 with the 30-second winner from Jesper Bratt, his second on the night, and New Jersey goes home happy.
He looks great, by the way.
Jesper,
yeah, I like what I mean. The skill's elite.
Just tap that up to another Rusty. Well, it's a playoff take, but I said Meyer over Bratt, and it's just I couldn't look.
Bratt looks great.
Bratt looks good.
Moving on.
Hold on. One thing we didn't mention, we alluded to, we didn't mention it. I'm sorry, this is total reverse order, but just that in the Hughes sisters game. Did you guys see that Tyler Myers turn away to Jack Hughes?
And I saw a great tweet. You want to hear the tweet? Somebody, and this was a Devils fan kind of joking. They were playing on the play, and for the listeners who didn't see this, like Tyler Myers gets the puck with nobody around him, and just gives it away to Jack Hughes.
Hold on. Let me go more detailed into what Myers did. Okay.
Okay, then let me give the tweet.
All right,
the tweet's funny.
But let me give the context before you give the tweet, bro. Tyler Myers. 6'8", gigantic monster going into the corner. Him and Jack Hughes, right? So it's like, all right, fuck you, Hughes. Just kind of he shoves Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is like, you know what, buddy? Like, why don't you be the first one to get to this puck? I'm not ready to get absolutely mashed. Like, probably a good decision by Jack Hughes. That's what you want him to do. So Myers gets to the puck. F2 comes in, right? The second forward comes in to pressure Myers. So Myers turns away from Hughes now that he's gotten the puck because Jack, just waved the white flag and said, you go get it, Myers. So Myers retrieves the puck. He looks over his right shoulder. In comes forward 2. And what does Myers do? He no-looks it tape to tape over to Jack Hughes that's 3 feet away from him. Basically, the second guy's coming. Instead of like rimming it or making a hard play, he like makes like a touch soft pass 3 feet, tape to tape over to Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes tape to tape to Eric Haula right in front of the net, unguarded. Boom to Haula forehand to backhand goal, and it was one of the biggest pizzas I've ever seen. Yeah. Now the tweet.
The tweet was because there is the real consideration. He doesn't want to get crunched, which is totally fair.
6'8" for God's sake.
Yeah, you don't want to get crunched. I'm totally on that. Like, you're Jack Hughes. Do not get crunched by Tyler Myers.
Completely, and I'm not
for the team.
I'm not even ragging on Jack Hughes.
Yeah, no. But the tweet was essentially, Jack Hughes didn't go to the corner there because he knew Tyler Myers was going to fuck that up. Give him the puck unguarded. And I was like, that play kind of looks like, because Jack Hughes is waiting there with like it looks like he wants a pass and he gets it.
He pretty much called for it from Myers.
And he got it.
And it was just like, Jack Hughes, one of the things, he just thinks the game really well, and just the immediacy of that stupid play and the pucks in the back of the net was just special. Like, it goes from the corner where it's like, all right, like he's beating Hughes in the corner. That's a good thing. And then it just became a bad thing so quickly.
Yeah.
All right. That was my last little bullet that we went by, but
loose change. That was a meaty loose change. That was good. That was strong.
Can I get one more loose change to a different game? Last one.
Empty it out.
This was my big loose change.
As long as it's not
it'll be quick.
Kings and Avs.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that?
Yeah. No.
Appointment
We've been holding this one up. All right. So
Okay,
let me move on.
It's a Kings thing.
Let me move on from Loose Change. It will always be there. We appreciate you guys tuning in and hope you guys appreciate our little recap of a week in review. Remember, if you enjoy our Slot Shot content, hit that like and subscribe button right below us. It supports us and helps us on the hunt to becoming something. But moving on to appointment programming. Appointment viewing. Jesus, my mind's all in scrambles tonight. Last week it was a little LA Kings versus the Colorado Avalanche action on Monday night, and it was
Sunday night.
I really am in scrambles tonight. It's
Sorry.
bad. It's bad.
Sorry.
I'll clean it up. I'll try and work harder and close the third period on a strong note. But yes, no, it was Kings Avalanche on Sunday night. It was an appointment viewing. It was the agreed on between the boys to watch the game, and unfortunately, I think Alex and I may have failed on the assignment. But after watching some highlights and trying to get a little of a sense of what happened, we know Rusty did his homework and sat down for 3 strong full periods of hockey. And I don't know if you'd say it was the most exciting Kings Avs matchup in the world, but. So what are your takes on appointment viewing?
It was a bummer because McCarr didn't play for the Avs, and they were shorthanded. We know Lekkonen's been hurt. We know Girard's in the player program. So it's just like there were a lot of numbers on the Avs I didn't recognize that I didn't care to look up because nobody really stood out to me. And LA was pretty much, I'd say all over him pretty much from the jump. I've got my bullets here, and it really starts with, I think, the best line in hockey. Byfield, Kopitar, Kempe. I mean, they dominated. And so right, weak Avs lineup because they're shorthanded. Guys are out. So Bednar loaded up that McKinnon line with Nichushkin, McKinnon, and Rantanen. They were dominated by this Kopitar line. And I think best on best, those two lines are pretty neck and neck. It's some pretty elite skill from both sides. But on Sunday night, it was all LA in that sense. And that was the biggest takeaway of mine. Byfield was awesome. And when he's awesome, it's like Kopitar and Kempe are pretty freaking consistent. And Byfield's starting to be consistent too. So that's my first bullet there. I'm going to shut up before I move down my list. What do you got on that?
Well, what I'd say on specifically Byfield, because he's getting a lot of love now. But this came off of a season, 2 seasons really, of a lot of people questioning him a lot. And I got to credit the Kings. They did not move him from Kopitar. They just didn't. They said, you're going to play with Kopitar. We believe in you. And he's starting to show a little bit of confidence, which I think he's always played with. But like I see it like on some of those like bench clips of him. Like a lot of things like around the game. I see him just looking like he's comfortable now. And I don't know. Like the world is the limit for this dude. If he, I don't know if he has the shot to be a true 100-point player.
No, I don't think he's ever going to score 100 points. That doesn't mean he can't be an excellent player. Doesn't mean you can't play on a top line. How many guys in the league score? How many guys in the league score 100 points every year?
Not many, but like he's an elite defensive player.
You keep throwing around this 100-point guy thing.
Well, no, because Byfield,
it's a little reckless.
No, it is, but Byfield is like an uber prospect.
Is Lafreniere going to be a 100-point guy?
No, there's a reason. No, but he was
Byfield.
a one. He's 1-2 in terms of his draft. You got to remember the kid's only 21.
But
still,
the playmaking and the size is so elite. It's so good.
It's his stick. It's his forechecking stick.
Good.
His stick, like he's got a good twig.
Mm-hmm.
Not like hands are solid and okay, but it's more about being strong on pucks, strong on forechecks, blocking passes, and getting that stick in, throwing the poke when he forechecks, and using the body. It's really powerful when he's surrounded by other guys that have elite skill and also really good size. Like Kopitar's big, Kempe's above average, and the totality of that, they're not the fastest line in the league, but fuck, do they play playoff hockey? And they have complementary game too, because Kopitar goes and gets pucks. Like I think all 3 guys are capable of going and getting pucks. Kempe's a pure shooter. I think Kopitar is more of a distributor, but equal opportunities in some ways. And Byfield is really good at all the little things. Gets to the front of the net, wins puck battles, good passing. So it's just it gels really well. And I right now, for my money, it's the best line in hockey.
Well, the thing that's scary about them is they're not only scary to play because you have to defend them, but you hate playing against them. And it's not like one of those elite offensive lines that just chugs through you. if you get the puck on the zone on them, they're probably going to get it back, break out, and move to the offensive zone.
They're just as difficult to play against in your D zone versus their D zone.
You don't like them anywhere in the ice.
And they dominate the neutral zone. I mean, the Kings as a team
they dominate the whole ice.
But the Kings as a team, the structure of McClellan, it's pretty special. No,
and I think this Kings team, it's why you gave them high praise in our little bit of a playoff and check-in last week. At 14-4-3, it's a team that is they're going to be scary in the Pacific Division, and it's a fun lineup to watch, and it's a tough lineup to move. And then you look at I think Trevor Moore has been a phenomenal piece for this Kings team. He scored his 12th on the season in this one as well, and I think this is a guy that they locked up pretty early, and Kings fans had kind of started to see the progress and development come, and I think they signed him 2 years ago to an extension for 4 or 5 years. And I think with the Byfield talk,
is he 5 and change or 6 and change? Trevor Moore.
He's 5 and change. I want to say
$5 million and change. Yeah. But
I want to say
no. They locked him up, and Jack, I'm glad you bring him up because that's the next bullet I have about this Kings Avs game. Ryan Johansson. We talked about him a lot in the Avs preview, being a key missing ingredient. Mm-hmm. Nothing from him in this game.
I haven't seen him at all.
Complete
every Colorado game.
So in fairness, right? I think when Colorado's fully loaded and he's got Nichushkin on one wing and he's got Lehkonen on another, I think he's got a better chance to succeed. But Bednar basically had him with you name it as the wingers. I couldn't even tell you, and he was just completely invisible. And you brought up Moore, Jack, Moore, Deneau, and Fiala. Like, that's a first line on a lot of teams. And that line is also elite. And, Moore plays a great 200-foot game. Deneau is one of the best defensive centers in the NHL. Top 5 defensive center in the NHL. I'll stand by that. And Fiala. So, I've got a point here on Fiala. Fiala does not fit the mold of an LA King. But he's a perfect fit for the LA Kings. Because if the entire team are this LA King type 200-foot, hard checking, this and that, hard-nosed, right? You're probably going to have a hard time scoring goals. Fiala is not that. He's soft. He's a diver. He takes some bad offensive zone penalties. He's got flaws, but fuck is he skilled, and can he shoot the puck? And he does very, very elite skill stuff when the puck is on his stick, and he's got there couldn't be a better winger for Moore and for Deneau than Fiala. Moore has been hot shooting the puck, and he's ready to shoot, but he's also a big grinder, and he can fetch it.
Yep.
Deneau is like the ultimate puck fetcher and defensive. He'll cover for Fiala, maybe being lazy or cheating. It's just that's another one where I think that top line, they're all kind of similar and it gels well. And then that second line, they're all kind of different and it gels well. Mm-hmm. And that's what that's what makes LA so tough. We didn't even talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois, who didn't have a big role in this game, but when they get that going, I mean, that's your Stanley Cup. That's your Stanley Cup favorite, according to Rust.
Well, my big takeaway, and this is half watching, half also stat sheet watching, which I think has surprising value sometimes.
Lazy.
No, but this is from both eye tests. These guys have a lot of players who can score 2 in a game. A lot of players who can get hot. A lot of lines that can get hot. I think they have a Vegas effect right now. I think they just have, it may not be on the same level, but the way they can roll lines and just continue to play the same hockey. Obviously, different skill, different players, but
it's funny. It's almost equal and opposite. Where LA, it's the strength right down the middle, and that's really good wingers. Mm-hmm. And for Vegas, it's strength on the wing, and it's pretty to really good centers.
Yep.
So
they can roll.
Yeah,
they can roll all day, and you don't have time off on these guys. They went down 3-0 to Columbus. I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday this week.
I bet them that night. Yeah,
and they just kind of rolled on back. It wasn't it just happened.
They scored 3 in the third.
I know, but you weren't too surprised by that, And I know it's Columbus, but they just keep going. They have a scary team to play because you don't feel like you have an off shift.
Two final points here on LA. What's our next segment, Jack? Termite of the week.
Termite of the week.
All right.
No, Yes.
Well, it's a very natural segue. I'm just gonna.
No. I was sorry. Continue. Ignore me.
I'm just gonna take the segue myself. Weakness of LA right now, it's the third pairing defensively. They're going right now with the guy Andreas Englund and this rookie Spence, who we talked about Sean Dursey and that they moved on from Dursey. Spence is the same skill set as Dursey. He's younger. And this is his first full first full NHL season. But he's been pro since he was 18, right? So it's his third pro season, but his first like all the way up with the big club. And Spence has some great offensive game to him. Not pretty defensively for Spence.
Yeah.
And Englund, this Andreas Englund.
I can give you a little. He was a Hawk for a few months last year, and he was a healthy scratch in Chicago. So that tells you what.
Well, that's a nice segue to my Termite of the Week.
Well, wait. Give me a second, because I do think. Okay, that's fine. Yep, we can go there. I was just gonna say, Grundstrom has been impressive for this Kings team, and I wanted to say, I know we talked a little bit about Lafreniere. How do you say it? Laferriere. That dude can frickin' fly. He's got some frickin' wheels on it.
I've liked what I've seen.
And it looks good. But if you want to naturally transition us to Termite of the Week, I can get you to.
Well, it's tough because I had two Kings on my list. The pick is Englund, which we're going to get to. But you just brought up Grundstrom, who I've started calling Grindstrom. And his penalty minute numbers are a little low for a full Termite nomination. But this guy is hard on forechecks. And he wears 91 for them. You can't miss him watching games. He checks that Termite box of jumps out visually, and you won't see him on the score sheet for 4, 5, 6, 7 games at a time.
You're talking about Grundstrom.
I call him Grindstrom, but
right.
His name is Grundstrom.
Yep.
Andreas Englund. Moose. Leading the National League in fighting majors at the moment with 5. You know, he's Swedish by birth, former second-round pick. They list him at 6'4", 200. I think he's bigger than that. I think he's closer to 6'5". On the year, like I said, 5 majors. That leads the National. He plays a style of game. He's clunky in his D zone. He's a third-pairing guy. I think LA's true cup contention move makes him your 7th defenseman. Kind of like our guy in Edmonton, who's the big Frenchman in Edmonton, 73.
Desharnais.
Yeah. So he's got a similar kind of gigantic, mean but clunky, can't play more than 13 minutes a game to him. But fuck, is this guy big and mean and plays tough. And I love to see it from a Swedish-born guy. His name's spelled similar to, if you guys remember, Derek Englund, one of the original Vegas Golden Knights, who was far from European in his style of play. But this Englund leads the National in majors, plays really hard and mean, gigantic moose of a player. I think their real playoff team is going to have him on the 9th floor until injuries take their toll. But he's my Termite nomination.
Andreas Englund, like I said, it's just a guy who I think he came in over in the Zaitsev trade with Chicago last year and didn't play a lot and wasn't very noticeable. So I think he fits your mold for sure. Andreas Englund.
It's the opposite. But.
Well, no, I was just saying it. Well, never mind. All right, but yes,
I think maybe, Jack, to your point, sitting out in Chicago, I think he's recognized if he's going to stay in the lineup, he's going to have to chuck the mitts, and he's got a willingness to do it.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a little piss and grit to him.
You can also put up with that on a team that has more around it. That player is actually useful.
Strong D structure.
He may have been scratched on the Hawks.
200-foot forwards, right?
Yeah.
They can handle a weak third pair D. But it is a weakness, especially with him and Spence. Like, Spence brings good offense from the blue line, but Spence is not good in his D zone.
Yeah.
And Englund still has some work to do in his D zone, and the rest of the ice, he's pretty much luggage.
Hey, we're talking about a guy who's been around since 16, 17. He's only at 102 career games, so it's this is a milestone, not a milestone, a journeyman in Andreas Englund, and I think it's a fair pick, and I like it, and I think his his performance on the ice from what I've seen. I think he had a few majors. One I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't think of it right now, but he had a nice little hit on someone that led to some controversy. But Andreas Englund, interesting pick to lead us off on Termite of the Week, and a nice little segue from Kings. Well, the reason I get upset, actually, now that I think about it, is because we got to go back and we have to appoint a new viewing for this week.
Oh, appointment viewing.
That's why we have the little confusion on my end. But
new segment. We're learning it.
We are learning exactly. So I had one to fire, and unfortunately, it's a Saturday game. It's a matinee game, but it's Vegas, Dallas appointment viewing. That would be my pick. And I know it's a tough watch for any of those that enjoy your Saturday, as you should, because it's a weekend. So I'm going to appoint.
You've got Vegas,
Dallas
Saturday
Vegas
night.
On Saturday night.
Where is it?
In
matinee, dude.
Dallas. I told you.
Matinee. That's my problem.
I know. I said that.
That's my beef.
Blame the NHL on that one, not on me.
I can't stand matinees, man.
Anyone else? I know we caught you guys off guard here a little bit on this one, but
Yeah, I got one. It's also Saturday. I'm sorry about that, but we
might hear about him again. That's all.
To me, this is a very interesting game. I'm going Wings Senators.
Saw that from a mile away.
I know, but it's also like a pretty important game.
Agree.
When you look at the landscape of the East. Patrick Kane should be playing in that game. He will be back, so unless they rest him on 2 days rest. I don't think they will. I think he's going to be in the lineup. This is interesting, This for the Sens, it means a ton. And they're coming off a game in Sweden, which was a dynamo. Sens go up 4-0. Wings tie it. Sens win an OT on the Stützle little baseball swing,
Dirty.
There's a little rivalry, a little grit in this matchup right now, which is kind of funny because they're both kind of borderline playoff teams the last couple of years, but they know that each other are,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a big litmus test for both teams. Let's see what you guys can do. This is who they're going to be competing for the playoff spot most likely. I think it's an interesting game in Detroit.
Yeah.
Fuck, boys. I don't agree with either pick. I really don't agree with either pick. Matinee, I say throw it away. I'm done with matinee hockey. I really am. Until playoffs, I'm not really tuning in for matinees.
Shoot from the hip, brother.
I'm looking at Tuesday night. Toronto at New York Rangers, Madison Square Garden. Hey, Toronto's hanging in there with points, but we know their regulation wins suck. Rangers pretty much top dogs in the East, top dogs in the league right now. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great one, and it's the New York of Canada against the New York of the old US&A. So Maple Leafs Rangers at MSG Tuesday night, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. That's my pick for appointment viewing. I will be tuned into that game on Tuesday night. You can book that.
To the vote we go.
Well, we can't vote because we all have 3 different picks.
No, we pick one that we agree with that is the
I
appointment viewing.
All right.
I like Leafs Rangers.
Because it's not on Saturday.
Already win 2-1.
No, it's 3-0. It's not.
You're welcome.
Saturday
You're
pick.
welcome, listeners.
The only reason I'll say I like the Dallas Vegas is it's a potential Western Conference final, and it's a matchup that you would hope to see in the playoffs. That would be fun to watch, and 2 top contending teams in the Western Conference. So that's the only reason I like that. And then
at 2 p.m. Central or 3 p.m. Central
it's
in
tough.
Dallas.
No, I know it's a tough watch, and it's a matinee game on a Saturday. It's a hell of a matchup at a shitty time. There's no other way to put it. So, getting back on schedule, getting back onto the
fucking
boat.
Bruins Yotes that Saturday at noon.
It's tough.
1 o'clock Eastern. Yotes coming west to east. What a terrible fucking
No,
game.
it's not fun. It's not fun. But moving on, we've got our appointment viewing. Rangers, Toronto, Tuesday night. Tune into that one. Should be a fun one. Should be a playoff-like atmosphere at MSG. So moving on to our final thought of the night, Saturday picks. Ross is making a little bit of a run here with the 2-week heater, and he's caught me at second place at 4-3. Alex continues his first place lead at 5-2, but dropped his pick last week. Saturday picks. Who wants to lead us off? Alex, you lead us off because you're in first.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I'm going Hurricanes over the Canucks in Vancouver.
Cocksucker.
I think the Hurricanes are playing well.
I was going to take the same pick.
I'm scared of the pick a little bit, but that's my pick.
It's like we've watched so much Canucks. I feel like they are a little overrated right now.
Certainly.
You're
a little
seeing
bit.
them ground
And I think
out,
the Canes are
level
underrated
out.
right now.
And I think the Canes have the type of game that might be tough for the Canucks to play with.
And that could be plus money.
It could be, yeah.
I'm going to bet that game.
I think, yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to ride the parlay, but I'm going to bet that game individually.
Yep.
Especially if they're dogs.
I've been on a little bit of a losing streak, but I like this pick. It was my appointment viewing, and I'm going to stick with it. I've got the Vegas Golden Knights beating the Dallas Stars in Dallas, 3 o'clock, Saturday night. Bring the juice to the parlay.
You want some juice? You want some fucking juice? Take out your fucking shine box. Army stealing my goddamn game Saturday. Senators over Red Wings. Sens are surging. Sens are surging. They go into Detroit. Into Detroit. Brady Tkachuk on an absolute tirade. I don't think the Wings have the toughness to keep up with Brady. I think they're going to bully him around. Look out for a Mo Sider Brady Tkachuk fight. Sens over Red Wings Saturday night, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Sens are going to beat the Wings. That's Rusty's Saturday pick.
Unreal. Should be a fun little parlay. I think we're at like 1-6 at this point. So the parlay has not really been successful, but we're hoping that we can turn it around. And by no means we are gambling experts, but we're hopeful that a little Saturday picks from the Slot Shot boys could potentially make your Saturday that much sweeter. But to be determined, to be seen. I like Alex. I like Alex's pick of Carolina over Vancouver. I like Ross shoving it right back into Alex's face with Ottawa over Detroit. He rides the hot hand of Ottawa. He got him the win last week. He goes right back there, and he's keeping that certified stamp of Ottawa will come back in that division and make a run here in the Eastern Conference. That wraps up a phenomenal episode of Slot Shot Podcast. We got a closing thoughts from the boys before we send her on home.
Go, Sens, go.
Patty Kane winner. Ruin the parlay.
I puke. I sad.
That was a 2-for-1. One bullet, 2 podcast hosts.
That sucks. Still living on. Yeah. Well. All right. Well, if you want to find us, follow us at Slotshot Podcast on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube at Slotshot. Give us a like, a subscribe. We would appreciate it. Go follow the boys at Rusty Pedroia at _armdog_SS and at Siffyman for me. Follow. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you guys next Wednesday, Thursday for next week's pod.